Welcome everybody to the Slasher Club, where there is no measure to our terror and entertainment. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, we will be continuing the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 from 1986. And I bet you're wondering what happened to Derek. Well, turns out he was a bit busy with wrestling, so I'll be doing the whole video on my own tonight. And who knows, maybe there will be a little story on why I do the videos. Anything can happen. So, let's get started. Basically, the intro is about honestly, it's about the first movie. Honestly, they feel you guys haven't seen the first movie if you're watching the second movie in the series. So they have to go through the whole story on how Sally escapes and what happens to all her friends, and seriously, we have to go. Basically, it's a long monologue about Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 1. So, we move on. Basically, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is about a radio DJ who teams up with Sally and Franklin's uncle, who we know him as Lefty. Which there's actually going to be a huge connection at the end of this video between Lefty and Stretch. But it's basically a horror comedy. Toby Hooper decided that we needed to focus more on the comedy instead of the actual slasher. So we have romance between Leatherface and our main protagonist. We get Dalton Sawyer back. Funnily, we get the hitchhiker again. But honestly, it's just a whole big attack of the cannibals on a radio station and its patrons, and a weird subplot about a meatpacking company and how the Sawyers have won the chili contest for years. But on to the facts. It was directed by Toby Hooper, produced by Monahan Golan, Uram Globus, written by L.M. Kit Carson, music by Toby Hooper and Jerry Lambert, cinematography by Richard Coors. Locations: Loop 150, Bastrop, Texas, which is the bridge chase. Airport Boulevard and Montepolis, downtown Austin, Texas, is the car crash. 6th Street, Austin, Texas, is KOK LA radio station. Mean-Eyed Cat Bar is also known as 1612 West 5th Street, Austin, Texas. It's known as Cut Right Chainsaws in the movie. We have Prairie Dell, Texas, as the Texas Battleland, which actually, Prairie Dell was a real theme park. They just used it in the movies. We have actors Carolyn Williams as Vanity Stretch Brock, Dennis Hooper as Lieutenant Bowed Lefty Enright, Jim Cito as the cook, also known as Drayden Sawyer, Bill Jellison as Leatherface, Bill Moseley as Chop Top, Chop Top Sawyer, which he's also very well known for playing one of the main antagonists of House of a Thousand Corpses, if you remember the video. He's actually really good in it. Lou Perryman as LG, Chris Doritz as Gunner, also known as Rick, Ken Everett as Grandpa Sawyer, Kinky Friedman as Sports Anchorman, Dan Jenkins as TV Commentator, Joe Bob Briggs as Gonzo Moviegoer, and onto the gore score, which Derek perfectly wrote out for us. We have one guy dies in car by getting his head chainsawed off. No, two would be the guy getting in the car accident because the driver was murdered. So that's two. We have LG gets the brains being out of him and then skinned alive, dying from loss of blood. So that's three. We've got Leatherface, Grandpa Sawyer, and Lefty and Dalton Sawyer, blown up, badly bruised, and chainsawed. And then we have the hitchhiker's brother, Chop Top, killed? I'm pretty sure he died due to the fall from that very high tower. So that leaves us with 8 deaths to the movie. That's honestly 4 or 3 more than the original movie. And onto the favorite kill, which is Buzz loses half his head, which honestly, I have to say is the funniest kill in this movie. You actually don't notice it until you get a close look of Buzz. But you start watching as pieces of his head fall off. And it's funny as you're listening to Rick scream his head off after seeing his friend literally lose half a brain. And it was brilliant to do. I mean, when can you ever say you've seen someone get half or a quarter of his head cut off while he's driving by a chainsaw? Never. And just, again, the look and the blood squirting out as you're watching him slowly die as he's basically brain dead. Least favorite kill? LG dies from blood loss. I mean, I wonder, if you guys remember, I said I hate mercy killings, but this, it's just, the guy bleeds to death. I mean, yeah, he suffers brain damage by getting hit in the head with a hammer multiple times, but they skinned the guy alive and left him alive to just bleed out, and it's just, that is not how you kill someone in a horror movie. I mean, I get it was for comedy, but just, you don't let them bleed out. It's so stupid. It's not like they were even taking the kills into heart or actually trying to be serious. I mean, again, it's a dark comedy. It's just put a little more effort into the fucking kills. Instead of, oh, we skinned his face off, so he's gonna die of blood loss through his face, and that's not how you do it. Onto the facts. Budget of $4.7 million. Box office of $8 million. Tobe Hooper decided to focus more on the dark comedy, which is kind of sad, because this is supposed to be one of the sequel to one of the original, slasher movies. Gunnar Hansen refused to come back because he was offered low pay. I mean, they offered him like 10% and 5% for his agent. Plus, like another 5%. He denied it. He told them he doesn't have an agent, so they said, well, we're still gonna give you 10%. They basically gave their best actor the shittiest fucking price in the world. So then we got Johnson. In an alternate plot line, Lefty was supposed to be Stretch's father, so that also connects her to Franklin and Sally, making them her cousins. It's just, I'm kind of glad they got rid of that. We didn't need we didn't need another subplot where, oh, they're now connected. I mean, we got enough of that in the Halloween series. Here, we don't need subplots. We need the actual story. Put more into the story and the kills instead of subplots and jokes. The original sequel was supposed to be called Beyond the Valley of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which honestly was supposed to be, I guess you could say somewhat like Motel Hell. It was supposed to be like a satire to Motel Hell, but it's a town of cannibals. This sequel isn't that good, but it would have went way too far with the whole, oh, the town's all in on it. They're all cannibals. Let's make that a thing. No. That is one of the things you don't do in a movie. I mean, Children of the Corn did it right. Be it they weren't cannibals, they were just kids killing their parents to appease a god. Here, this has no reason to be a whole town film. I mean, it just gets you thinking. It's so much fucking similar to Welcome to Dead House by Goosebumps, and yeah, that was okay, but it was an unneeded book, even though it's the first one. Anyway, the corpse that Chop Top and Leatherface carry around with them is actually the hitchhiker from the first movie, which turns out that Chop Top is his twin brother, and he's carrying his body around after he found him on the road in the first film. Honestly, it doesn't really have any fucking meaning to it. He just carries it around just to say, oh, this is my brother. He's gonna be with me even while he dies, or when I die, so I'm gonna carry him throughout the film. It just makes no sense. This was Jim Sato's final film ever, because he died shortly after. The Butcher cover of the Beatles album, Yesterday and Today, can be seen hanging in the radio station on one of the walls. And lastly, Lefty is the uncle of Franklin and Sally, which we all know. I mean, it's basically stated. And the one part that I really cared about that was connected to the original in this film is we actually got to see how badly Franklin was killed. I mean, we see half his head's basically cut in half by the chainsaw, and the rest of his body, I mean, like I said in Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1, the review, I hated that kill because there was no, it was just basically in the dark. All we got to hear was Franklin scream, and we don't even get to see it. Here, we actually get the after effect, and we find out how brutally he was killed by just seeing his skeleton and where the chainsaw went. And in this movie, Leatherface is a bit fucking cheesy. I mean, it's like Beauty and the Beast, but with a DJ and a serial killer. DJ warms or stops the killer by getting him to fall in love with her, and it works out through the whole film, but it's just overused. And that whole scene where Leatherface, also known as Bubba, is basically just using the chainsaw as a fucking penis metaphor all over Stretch, and it's just, do we really need a whole thing about how he feels that his chainsaw is basically his manhood? I mean, I get he's basically retarded. It's just you don't need sexual innuendos with a chainsaw. I mean, it's almost as bad as actually seeing his dick in the movie. But then again, he lets her live. It continues the story, and there's this whole scene where the father's telling Leatherface, either you're gonna choose a woman over your family, or you're going to take the chainsaw and kill her. And it just, they badly tried to redo the dinner scene from the first movie, and it just was stupid. And here we have them going for the whole, oh, Grandpa, do it, do it, do it, kill her, Grandpa, kill her. And surprisingly, someone 137 years old, he fucking picked up the hammer and hit her over the head. But still. And the scene where Lefty's just singing to introduce himself to the Sawyer family, just, it feels stupid. And with the father singing along with him, singing to him, and just like, that's not how you introduce yourself. You don't sing your way into this house. It's just it was too much of a comedy. I mean, yeah, I know this movie isn't really on everyone's best Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie rankings, but compared to the original, I'd say it at least deserves a 5.2. I can't give it anything higher because it just didn't really appeal to me. I mean, yeah, the first death was very gory, but the rest just felt like a dumb joke compared to the original. And the original took the passion of, it's a slasher movie. they based it off of Ed Gein and the Houston serial killer. But here, they basically just said screw it, throw away, keep small pieces of the slasher movie or how we defined a whole generation and focus more on the comedy. I mean, I know it's Tobe Hooper's choice, but he should have done what he was good at. Slasher, killer movies with the silent, awkward killer. But no, here we've got Leatherface whining and just acting like a complete fucking wimp. And again, we don't need the romance in the film. This isn't a romance movie. This is a horror movie, not romance. We don't need a romance between a killer and his victim. So yeah, if you guys haven't figured it out yet, I'm really pissed. I don't like this movie. 5.2. We will be doing a lot of people's, I'd say, one of the most disliked Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies, because it doesn't really it makes as much sense as this movie, and that's barely anything. And so yeah, we'll see you next week for Leatherface 3 and F. Hopefully you guys read the schedule, because it's going to be a wild ride. And don't forget, please give us your send us your comments on what you'd like to see after we finish on March 4th. We'd really like to know what series we should do after, because there are so many we can't choose, and we really want to know what you guys think. So don't forget to comment on our Facebook, like, subscribe, and please spread the word. And we hope you enjoyed this. So, good night, goodbye, and hashtag humans are meat too.